It's Monday.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome,
morning.
Kate.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. It's awesome to be here. Lead to Soar Live. I've actually got the brand right this time. I was saying LinkedIn Live last time when we were talking to Rana. So now I've got our brand right today, listeners and viewers. So it's my awesome honour and pleasure to have with me, of course, my wonderful colleague, Mel Butcher. So Mel and I are co-hosts in the Lead to Soar Network. We will be bringing you the Lead to Soar Summit in Melbourne, as we do every year in the USA. And of course, we have our weekly podcast, the Lead to Soar podcast. Welcome, Mel.
So glad to be here.
And we've got with us today Kate Dillong. Now, Kate, I was thinking this morning, we met at an event that I spoke at years ago. And I actually can't remember the name of the organisation. It was something about CEO women, but
Chief
women, yeah, something like that, yeah. And I just remember sort of briefly talking to Kate. Then we were walking out together, and she was telling me about she makes these amazing bags. I'm going, well, I do like, a bag and a sneaker. So, and I started to follow Kate, and she has this amazing brand, She Lion. But that's not all. She does a whole bunch of other stuff. Anyway, long story short, we've known each other for a long time. I've followed Kate with just awe, I guess, because she's done some really terrific things in business in a couple of different capacities. And the reason we're coming to you today, everyone, is to really highlight Kate's coming to talk at our Lead to Soar Summit on the 23rd and 24th. Kate will be speaking on the 24th about her career, about her amazing career, which we're going to find out a little bit about now, about her side hustle, her wildly successful side hustle, but also to really inspire the women, the 100 women at our summit, about how you can actually, I can. So I'm repping the brand today, because this is one of Kate's bits of merch, and there's a story behind this sweater. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. Anyway, so welcome, Kate. Awesome to have you with us.
Oh, the feeling is entirely mutual, and the pleasure and the honour is entirely mine, Mel and Michelle. And I eagerly have been following both of you, obviously online, and very massive fangirls of both of you. So I feel very honoured to be here. So thank you.
Oh, thanks, Kate.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's get into it. Kate, you are, amongst other things, so you're a wife, you're a parent, you're a dual qualified lawyer, you're an entrepreneur and the CEO of, She Lion, but you can talk to a little bit about what She Lion's morphing into. And you're a massive advocate for women in business, business women. So why don't you give us the highlight reel of your career? Tell us about you.
The highlight reel. Well, yeah, gosh, you get to the age where I'm almost 40 now, and I feel like the highlight reel, goodness. I have had one of those squiggly careers, and I'm the daughter of two parents who always told me anything's possible with guts, determination, and persistence. And I'm absolutely that person who lent into that quite literally. So I wanted to be an actor. I did an arts law degree, and was convinced by my family that law was the closest thing to acting, so you should do that as well. So along with my drama major, I did a law degree. And we studied Arabic and Chinese and painting and all these random things in my arts degree. And started to become a lawyer, which was great. I really liked the intellectual stimulation of thinking in a certain way. But it just didn't have that creative piece for me. So I wanted to find something to add in. And I went on exchange at uni to Sweden and met a whole lot of wonderful people, one of which introduced me to fashion law. And so I decided when I'd come back and started working as a lawyer that I was absolutely going to become a fashion lawyer in New York, and that was absolutely what I was going to do. And so I started studying for the bar exam, because you have to be obviously qualified over there to practice over there. and had done my articles, which is no longer even around anymore. Now it's called College of Law, and got into sort of first year as a lawyer and was studying for the bar exam at night and in the morning. And obviously had told everybody that I wanted to do this. So was really adamant that, I'm absolutely going to pass and it's not a problem, and really told everybody I was going to be a fashion lawyer. And of course, I didn't pass. And I had never suffered such a public failure before in my life. And I think it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because my mother just said, much like Michelle, I'm sure, would say to me too, well, just do it again, pick yourself up, let's do it again, if you want it, let's get shit done type thing. And absolutely, so that's what I did, and did it again and passed and went over there, and then the GFC happened, and so they were like, no, we won't have you here. So came back and moved to a big law firm that had IP, because I was in financial services at the time, and worked for a really wonderful partner. And he helped me transition to a big firm that had IP so that I could do fashion law in Australia, and worked there for 2 years, which was great. Then realised I just really wanted to have a fashion business, and that's when Sheline was born. And had noticed along the way that I had a lot of colleagues and friends that were really frustrated that they'd have this fabulous power suit, and then they'd have a really beautiful bag, and then they'd have this really unattractive, big, fat black laptop bag with the double zips, and it was just so big, and the laptops were so big back then too.
Yeah, they were.
And then if you're working like as a lawyer, many professional services, you'd have all this paperwork, because it wasn't paperless in 2015. So you'd have your Woolies bag or whatever carrying all your paperwork. And then if you're organised, you might have a gym bag and your lunch bag and your shoe bag. And then you're well and truly the bag lady, and not power suit's just dead. I was like, there's got to be a solution for this. And you spoke to lots of people about it and did some sort of high level research, but not like in-depth detail like you really actually should. And thought, I'm going to make some handbags, because I couldn't find any out there. So started going to night school at RMIT, because absolutely the lawyer brain kicked in. I'm all about like, how do I do this? Like, what's involved? How do I, give the right instructions if I'm not going to make them? But I had to make them first, so I know what's involved. And so did all of the RMIT courses in handbag construction and leather appreciation, and actually pattern making for bags. So doing gusset bags and tote bags and clutch bags, and learning how to skive, and then decided to do Illustrator and AutoCAD, because that was where all the people who worked in fashion were, because they were all upskilling at the time to digitize their skills. And so would start like seriously networking and saying, where would you go to source leather, like ethically? Where would you go to source, which country? And who would you speak to about freight? And what would you recommend to get like a small part of a container? And or where do you think you would go to get hardware? And what about all this testing? Who would you speak to about testing? And have you heard any? Is there anything else you think I should ask? What else would you offer, given what I'm looking into?
Oh my God, Kate, if the viewers, listeners who know me, and I know Mel's probably thinking this, they would know exactly what little bubbles above my head at the moment. Networking is working.
Oh, networking is the key. Yeah. I think that the biggest lesson of my whole career, the only way anything has been able to be done is through relationships and meeting new people, and constantly putting myself in spaces where I wouldn't normally be, to be exposed to new ideas and to meet new people, because that's where the magic happens. And everything is about wanting to be curious and learning from others and providing value for others. So going to spaces, and finding out what challenges other people are facing and what they're looking for, and who that you can connect them into, and any advice or information that you might have that you can share with them. Because honestly, the magic that comes back is like a millionfold. And it's always at the most opportune time when you're kind of a bit stuck, and then this person that you helped 3 years ago, 5 years ago, comes randomly and calls you and says, "Oh, Kate, I just thought of you. I got this opportunity. I remember you introduced me so-and-so, and there's this." And you're like, Amazing. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Sensational.
Bingo,
So
bingo.
networking, everything. Yeah.
Sorry, Kate, didn't mean to derail your telling us about RMIT and learning stuff.
Oh, not at all. I can talk underwater, as you know.
Very good company.
I met all these incredible people, and they gave me all of this information that I wouldn't otherwise know, because that's the whole thing. You don't know what you don't know. So you've got to continually ask questions and keep digging. And launched Sheline in 2015 with 8 bags after going overseas a few times to design the collection from scratch and go and meet with multiple factories and then have them all ethically vetted, and then multiple samples and multiple things that didn't work. But I had 8 bottles and I had drums and, invited everybody I knew. And of course, one of the people that showed up on the night, they're like, "Oh, and what PR and media have you got tonight?" I was like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Well, how's anybody else going to know about the event other than the people that come?" I'm like,
Oh.
"Yeah." And I was just like, this is all that you don't know what you don't know. And I'm very much jump in and have a go, course correct as you go and learn as you go. I was just lucky someone who came happened to be an editor at news.com and wrote an article about it, and it went up, and then the Daily Mail picked it up, and that was pure luck. But it's all these things that, there's multiple things that you do wrong, but you learn and then you don't ever make the mistake again. Anyway, 8.5 years later, Sheline has been making bags that entire time. I am, if you haven't already guessed, fiercely feminist, very, very adamant that I wanted to have the two and demonstrate that you could be respected and valued on a flexible role and have a leadership trajectory in a traditionally male-dominated professional services industry. And so I am super proud to work for Gilbert and Tobin, who've absolutely supported me in my growth as my commercial acumen has grown, as my ability to work as a lawyer has grown, but also to create my own role, much like I've created my own business and my own career, and to back me. I mean, you absolutely do need to follow through and provide the value, but it's all about, much like networking, understanding your stakeholders, understanding their challenges and their needs, and making sure you're consistently providing value for others, and then anything is possible.
Well, I've got to say, Kate, Gilbert and Tobin is also the home of another woman I just dreadfully admire, Moya Dodd.
Yes.
And I'm fortunate to know Moya through sport, naturally. And I know that Moya has an enormous role in sport alongside her corporate career. Yes, she runs the sports practice in G&T, but there's clearly Gilbert and Tobin have a very I guess strong philosophy or belief that people can have portfolios, whether we want to call it side hustles, portfolio careers, what have you. But I think it's just something to look at, because clearly you have flourished, but so has the firm, and so has your organisation, your business. So what is it in the water at Gilbert and Tobin that really promotes that kind of mindset and that thinking?
They're entrepreneurial and they value entrepreneurial thinking. And I think being an entrepreneur doesn't necessarily mean you have to run a business. I think it's about being able to navigate change and being comfortable with uncertainty and being open to learn all the time and being happy, being a little bit scrappy sometimes, knowing that you can course correct and fix things, and that's the best way to learn. I think it's being in a fail-safe environment, even though you are expected to perform at a high level, and even though it is a premium law firm. Absolutely, you don't serve anything up unless it's perfect once it gets to a client, but there's a lot of scope to grow and to learn and to try things before it gets to that point, because that's where you find the innovation, that's where you find the gems, that's where you get the lessons. And having space to do that is really special.
Yeah, and I think that's a real, not that this is, I mean, there's a call to action for employers here, because, leaders in workplaces, but how do we unlock the full potential of our team members? And, and I always say, innovation's not inventing the next, whatever the next Apple iPhone is going to be. It's actually about how do we do things better, smarter, faster, cheaper, that's going to help grow the business. And, obviously from my perspective, being, really grounded in diversity, equity, and inclusion and feminism, how many people are around the table, literally or virtually, in your organisation that aren't unlocking their entrepreneurial or intrapreneurial mindset because of whether it's fear, whether it's a lack of inclusion, whatever it may be. So it's such a key to unlocking growth in individuals and, of course, in the organisation. And it's interesting, you and I share a university, because I also went to RMIT, and I've talked a lot about how that unlocked just so much of my potential. In fact, I guess it actually dismantled a few barriers that I put up in my own mind about who I was and what I could do. But one of the things about RMIT and Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology, our uni, but it has a huge design practice, and it has this cornerstone in design thinking. And of course, Mel and I, when you talk about being scrappy and trying things and do things, we are doing that a lot. And both of us, like you, have gone, can't find what I need. All right, let's create it. So, a few years ago, I happened to be coming to the US. Mel said, there's just not good conferences for women that do what we do. And, well, you're coming of it. Well, let's start doing our own summits and our own conferences, because if we can't find it, what we need and what we know women need, we create it. And that is, I know it's a bit crude, but that is design thinking. Build something for the unmet needs of people. Mel?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you bringing us around to the summit there. Kate, I guess I just want to ask if you could say a little more about how that culture manifests that enables people to feel comfortable with the entrepreneurial spirit, and then maybe tie it back a little bit to what that's meant for your portfolio career and your ability to start this business.
I think it's all about having the comfort level to have open conversations with whoever your point partner or manager is. And I think it's about having mutual trust. And then beyond that, I think it's about you being quite proactive yourself and being comfortable asking for what you might like, and being comfortable with a no, and then being comfortable with a yes. And, if it's a no, having a conversation around how that might work for both parties, because often a no is not necessarily a no. It's like not a no, it's a not right now, or it's a, maybe kind of like that, but in a little bit of a different way. It's more being confident to lean in and understand what is the need that you're trying to service, and how do you align that with your aspiration, I think. And the Gilbert and Tobin absolutely lean into having that conversation with me, and have done way before COVID happened, like for 8.5 years. I have worked there 3 days or 2.5 days or 3 days and back again since 2015. So way before that was like a normal thing that people started having side hustles or portfolio approaches. And I have been fully supported along the way. And my career itself inside of G&T as well has iterated in a similar way, because I started as a professional support lawyer, which is a more traditional role, and then was able to move into an innovation and knowledge lawyer, which doesn't exist. And they helped me craft a position description that suited their needs, which suited my needs, to move into this new space, ensuring that I was providing value, of course, but into a new space. And then an innovation and strategy lawyer, which changed again. And then a transformation lawyer, none of which had existed before, which changed again. And then G&T Innovate Consultant, which was excellent also, which changed again. And then coming now into the Director of Employee Strategy and Experience, which is arguably a more traditional title now. But the iterations to get there and the actual day-to-day of that is very bespoke and tailored to my skill set and my strengths, and how I can service them best, and also how I can grow and feel challenged.
It's there's a bit of serendipity here, because Mel is also extremely accomplished in looking at what we used to call the employee value proposition for organisations, but in a very targeted way. So Mel really has done a lot of work, a lot of research, and has lived experience in that transition that particularly younger people, young professionals have coming out of university, doing their grad program and then coming into the workplace. And, we've got a whole bunch of different challenges now, including a completely, digital natives, that some of these young people have never been in a workplace I'm the oldest on this call, so certainly no lived experience like me, but we need to help those young professionals learn about things that are still there, but also tap into their expertise and their stuff. Mel, I'm actually butchering this a little bit, pardon the pun, but that was
seamless. That was seamless.
So I think that employee experience is so incredibly important, including saying, if we've got young professionals who have perhaps a higher sense of purpose, but also have their career goals, but also need to learn about workplaces, how do we help them do that really well? Sorry, Mel, I've just described you, and I don't think I've done a very good job, but anyway.
Well, I mean, yeah, the young professional and the sort of transition topic is on my mind a lot lately, for sure.
Hey, sorry, Mel. There is a story, there's the story of She Lion, and particularly, there was the P word that was used a lot during COVID, pivot, which I cannot stand. But iterate, I love iterate. We iterate, and you kind of go, okay, I've made something that's not quite right. I'm going to reshape it. I'm going to reshape it. I'm going to reshape it. Kate, you've reshaped and now reshaping. Yep. And again, that is a mindset, right? And Mel says so often, moving up, and up can mean whatever you mean, up, whatever you want it to mean, but moving up begins in your own mind first. That mindset is so important. Tell us about these iterations that you've gone through, as well as are experiencing right now.
Sure. Well, I feel like, as you say, it is 100% a mindset. And I think definitely with your career, you've got to, I remember having this conversation with actually my mother, who's been hugely shaped my mindset, but that it's a jungle gym, and that you don't necessarily just go up a ladder. Like, often you have to go down and sideways and across and over and swing here and then back down again, and then slingshot straight up again. And it's all part of it. And all of those pieces come together in this uniquely human experience way that you can't always articulate. And it's always so much better, and the learnings are so much deeper when it's more jungle gym like, rather than rung on rung on rung on rung. And so I think that you've got to constantly be in that permanent state of beta. You've always got to be, well, how can I optimize? Or this challenge is an opportunity. Where's the possibility in here? How can I flip the way I'm looking at this? How can I change the frame to change the game, so to speak? Because it's all perspective. So having to do that quite literally myself in business. When COVID happened, I was at home with a newborn. I had a 3-year-old. We were living in regional Victoria. I was making handbags that solved the problem of commuting in organisation, and no one was commuting. So the problem I solved disappeared, within a week, within 2 weeks. It became very, very clear that, and as the lockdown was continuing, particularly in Melbourne, because it went for so long, and we just invested in all these really beautiful premium handbags that were, Italian leather and a much higher price point than normal for She Lion. And I'd paid for them in December, and they were going to arrive in March, and we're in March and they're landing, and it was just not even politically correct to be selling this type of product. And, sales had dipped. I'd lost sort of 30% in sales. Increased freight and logistics was up 40%. I was absolutely looking at a dead business if the trajectory had gone out sort of 4, 5, 6 months. And on top of that, being at home with a very active 3-year-old boy and then a very reflexy newborn, I was like, okay, where's the positive? How can we flip the script here? And I was like, I've been loving all of these wind cheaters. I've got a lot of slogan wind cheaters, and one says superhero and had milk vomit all over it. And I put it on Instagram. I was like, women are the best. I'm like really proud of myself. And give myself a pep talk, women can do anything, as in Kate, you can do anything, really, really, really. And then someone was like, oh, you should make a jumper like that. I was like, oh my God, that is excellent. What I want to do, I want to make a product that is absolutely every single element Australian made. And I want to get all the small businesses together to do that. And I want it to say support local. And then I want the other one to say, actually, I can, because we can. And I was like, I don't know whether I can do it, but I'm going to make sure I absolutely try my hardest to. And I remember making this call to this cold call, lots of cold calls to a garment manufacturer who I knew manufactured for Marg Porritt, because I'd worked at Feathers when I was at law school, and I love Marg, and explained the vision, and he was like, oh, this is excellent, I'd love to help you. And amazingly, then he just opened his book of clients and was like, here's a pattern maker, and here's a label maker, and this is who you should talk to about garment weaving, and this is who you should talk to about cotton, and this is where you would get thread from, and this is who you should talk to about packaging, and this is the plastic manufacturer in Australia, and this is who else you should talk to. And so I was just furiously writing this list, and then, as you could probably tell, was like sparking off the inspiration. It was like, this is absolutely what I'm going to do for the next 6 months. I'm going to make this happen in lockdown. And so had all these amazing Zoom conversations and couriers and like pattern makers teaching me how to measure garments on the bed with my kids there, because I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, I know how to make handbags, but I really don't know how to make apparel, and I'm sure it's probably not at all the same. And they're like, no, it's not. And I had all these incredible veterans skill me up over Zoom, over phone calls, over mail, and I just felt like they were family at the end of it. And it took a good 12 months to pull the range together and to get like samples that worked, because you have to do all this washing, industrial washing with fabric that's 100% cotton, because it shrinks and the rib behaves differently to the cotton, and then the screen printing and all that, so you got to get it all right with the pattern. So that took like multiple goes, and of course you have to send a sample, measure the sample, send it back, send it to the wash house, wash it, send it back, measure it, send it back to the pattern maker and agree on it, and you do that multiple times. But yeah, we did it. And then when I went to meet them all in person, it was just like, oh my gosh, I just want to hug you, like you're fabulous, and I want to interview you, because you've lived. Most of them were veterans, like incredible, like they are incredible, at the top of their game type of thing, and they'd lived through multiple GFC type events or economic downturns, and COVID obviously was a doozy. And I thought, what a great way to capture their stories. I need to go and interview all these people, and that'd be amazing business advice for my target market. And so I took my phone and I organized times to go and meet with them all and took notes, and it was just like very clear very quickly that this was not enough. Like I needed to invest in some professional footage, because these stories were incredible.
They were.
And so then invested in some professional videographers at Visual Domain who are incredible, and arranged for proper times to go with like a film crew to properly capture the story. And my goodness, the content and the stories that were able to be shared. And then obviously the whole thing was way bigger than Sheline anyway. Actually, I Can and Support Local was absolutely about saving my business, but much more so it was about demonstrating what we had in our backyard that I didn't even realize. And I was someone who I thought was sophisticated, at least at some level, in manufacturing, and just the amount of talent and the potential to create a real impact in Australia for so many people, 77% of which are women who work in that industry. And it's like a $32.6 billion industry. I mean, what an incredible opportunity to showcase that a tiny business like mine could make a garment that touches 300 hands. And it says, actually, I Can and Support Local. Like, imagine if a really big business did one SKU here, or an element of one SKU here, the number of jobs and the waves that it could make.
And I found it. I found that whole campaign particularly moving. And as I said, I've been a literally walking advocate, because I've got the range. And Interestingly, what the conversation that opened up in so many places, but particularly in Australia during COVID, was our lack of onshore manufacturing, our lack of capability. So again, listeners, when I talk to Kate, I always think about, she's just having this impact, but also has this commercial acumen to say, yes, I'm looking at my own business, but then hang on. There's this economic impact. A whole conversation has started about, or added to the conversation about onshore manufacturing and how we future-proof our nation from future global events. Whether it's a GFC, touch wood, or pandemic, touch wood again, but you're about to go through. So, and we'll share on our socials the link to those beautiful stories, because there is a beautiful, very, very compelling set of videos that for anyone who's got whether it's a side hustle or a full-time hustle, have a look, because there's some really, really good business advice in there. But Kate, you're about to you're about to iterate again. So tell us about that, and then we're going to close out with what we're going to do at the summit and what people can expect.
Yes, well, firstly, you should absolutely come to the summit. I can't wait to be there, and I can't wait to meet everybody who comes, and I can't wait to enjoy it myself. But yes, evolving again, because, post-pandemic, I feel like the way work fits life and life fits work, and what we expect from work and what we expect from employers and what employers expect from us, and where our values lie, it's all been altered by the pandemic. I feel like we're questioning who we are and why we work, and whether it drives our purpose, and what we want out of work, and all of that are also falls into handbags. And so now I feel like what we carry to work, and when we go to work, and whether we go to work, and whether we're hybrid, is all very different. And so we've made the decision to streamline. So we're just going to move back to one product, so we can really make sure that we're solving that right problem, and really pushing into that design thinking piece and walking the talk, with really making sure the end user really is the focus. And a big part of all of these other amazing experiences that I've been fortunate enough to be part of have also galvanized all of these larger businesses to invite me to speak at things. And I love doing that. I love talking and sharing and meeting new people, and that's also grown. So She-Line is evolving into becoming Walk Fearlessly. So She-Line, the bags will still be there, but the business will be called Walk Fearlessly. And we're introducing officially now a corporate speaking arm, and our consultancy, which is called the CX of You. So it's about the client experience of you. So you as a leader, you as a business, or you as a team, and how you can optimize that. And all of that is on a foundation of entrepreneurial leadership, which, as far as I'm concerned, and my experience from what I've observed, is basically boiled down to problem finding, problem solving, and self-starting skills, and how you activate those skills in yourself and in your team and in your business.
Beautiful. I cannot wait to hear more. And so before I hand to Mel to talk a little bit more about the summit, and we'll close out, is we have got amazing gifts or door prizes at the summit, and two of those door prizes are the amazing laptop sleeve and business card, or card holder, I should say, pair. So we've got two of those, which are, and they are premium products. And as I said, Kate has, we've known each other for a while. I do have multiple products of Kate's, and they are, and
sponsor, yeah,
and they go all over the world with me. And I've got to say, the amount of times that I get stopped when people go, oh, through the scanning thing, and they go, that's a really cool bag. I go, well, there is this story, and you can see the people going, get on with your story, woman. I want to get through the security thing. So, but yeah, so there is a story. This is women supporting women. It's a women-owned, founded and owned business, but importantly, I'm just so thrilled, Kate, that you get the opportunity to showcase everything that you do for the attendees at our summit, because my goodness, you have packed a lot into your almost 40 years, and There's so much for us to learn from you, particularly around leadership and that entrepreneurial thinking, but also how leaders can unlock that in their own team members through a couple of different techniques. But for individual women, how do I have a jungle gym career or a squiggly career? I'm just thrilled to bits that you'll be joining us, Kate. Mel, I'm going to hand over to you because I'll just keep gushing, really.
Sure, thank you. Well, we're so delighted to have you, Kate, joining us as a speaker at the summit, and I think it really reflects a lot of the theme that we've got in the summit coming to Australia in November, which is really getting clear with our attendees about what does the CEO want you to know. So that's a big theme in the summit, and Michelle has done a lot of work to bring a handful of people into the fold, people like you, Kate, and several other CEOs and leaders that are going to talk about what is important in your business intelligence, your commercial intelligence to really advance in your career. So we want to see, we've had quite a few companies already step up and buy tables, and what they're doing is they're showing that they're serious about supporting their female talent pipeline. And we have space for a couple more. So we're looking for you business leaders out there to step up and grab those last tickets for the women on your team.
Yeah, and they are last tickets because we have an upper limit. We're only opening this to 100 people and or 100 women because we are really clear about curating absolutely exemplary and amazing experiences. So this won't be a great big warehouse full of women. This is 100 women in a space that will. We know from our summits we've been doing in the US for a few years that this is a transformative experience, and not least of which is because we've got someone like you, Kate, on board with us. So cannot wait, my friend. It'll be awesome.
Likewise. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm very excited to see you at the summit.
Awesome. All right, folks, you know where to find us. And if you don't, leadtosoar.com will point you in all the directions because, of course, we are a multi-resource platform, Lead to Soar, Summit, Network with a membership, and, of course, our wonderful weekly podcast. All about women, work, careers, leadership, and really helping businesses grow. Okay. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Mel. See you, everyone.
Thanks, Kate.
Bye.